Jim Carrey, The Power of a Dream. Characters, the van and the dream. Lights up on the narrator, center stage. A lone spotlight shines on an empty chair off to the side. Narrator. The year is 1979. The place is Toronto, Canada. We think of Jim Carrey as the megastar, the $20 million man. But before the fame, before the movies, Jim Carrey's family was broke. They were homeless. Narrator moves toward the chair. Narrator. After his father lost his job, the entire family, Jim, his parents, and his siblings, lived out of a Volkswagen van, parked in different spots around the city. They took any job they could, cleaning floors and guarding factory sites just to scrape by. This is where the comedy started, not as a career, but as a lifeline. Jim enters, wearing simple, worn clothing. He sits in the chair, looking weary, but with a restless energy. Jim, muttering to himself, polishing an imaginary factory floor. Buff and shine. Buff and shine. Another night, another 8 hours of trying not to breathe in the floor wax. The fire within narrator. Jim knew he was meant for more than factory work. He was funny. Wildly, uncontrollably funny. He'd spend hours performing impressions for his family, using comedy to push back against the darkness of their situation. He started hitting the comedy clubs, even at just 17. And he was terrible. Jim stands up abruptly, rehearsing a joke with forced energy. Jim. Too fast, nervous. So, I was at the grocery store, right? And I saw this guy buying all the tofu, and I thought, tofu? That's not food. That's sponge with an attitude problem. He forces a laugh. Narrator. The first time he performed at Yuk Yuk's Comedy Club, he was booed off stage. Jim sinks back into the chair, deflated. Jim. To himself. You're a failure. They hate you. Go back to the factory. Narrator. But a comedian's greatest weapon is resilience. Every rejection, every failed joke, every night sleeping in that van, it fueled him. He wasn't just chasing fame, he was chasing a way out for his whole family. He went back, and back, and back again. The $10 million promise narrator. The turning point didn't come in an audition room. It came in a very quiet, very personal moment in 1985, after he'd moved to Los Angeles. Things still weren't easy. He was sleeping on a friend's sofa, driving his beat-up car, and feeling the constant, dull ache of ambition meeting reality. Jim stands, pulling out an imaginary check from his jacket pocket. The light shifts to focus tightly on him. Jim, looking at the imaginary check, his voice gaining conviction. Okay, Hollywood, you don't know me yet, but you will. The universe needs to know the order. He holds up the imaginary check dramatically. Jim, reading the imaginary details. Pay to the order of Jim Carrey $10 million for acting services rendered. Date. Thanksgiving, 1995. He smiles, a genuine, determined smile, and folds it up carefully, placing it back in his pocket. Narrator. Jim Carrey wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, dated it 10 years in the future, and kept it in his wallet. It wasn't about the money. It was about the absolute, unwavering belief in a future he couldn't yet see. It was a tangible promise to himself. The payoff narrator. For years, that check was his talisman. He would pull it out and look at it when the doubt crept in. The next few years brought small roles, then bigger ones. In Living Color in 1990 showed the world what he could do. Then came 1994. Jim stands tall, radiating confidence. Narrator. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber. Suddenly, Jim Carrey wasn't just a comedian, he was a box office phenomenon. Jim smiles, a triumphant, well-earned smile. Narrator. By 1995, just as he had promised that imaginary piece of paper, he was offered the lead role in The Cable Guy for $20 million. He surpassed his own goal. And what did he do right after? Jim reaches into his imaginary wallet. The light returns to normal. Narrator. He drove his old, beat-up car up to the highest point he could find in Los Angeles, pulled out the weathered imaginary check, and tore it up. It had done its job. Jim mimics tearing up the check and throws the imaginary pieces into the air. The lesson. Narrator. Jim Carrey's journey is a powerful reminder. It's not just a rags-to-riches story. It's a testament to the power of a specific, defined dream. He didn't just wish for success. He wrote it down, put a date on it, and worked backward until he was standing in the future he had declared. Narrator. Before the fame, there was the van. Before the 20 million, there was the $10 million promise. What is the dream you need to write a check for? Because, as Jim Carrey proved, belief, coupled with relentless work, isn't a magical formula. It's a fundamental law. Lights fade to black.